So you want to start a side hustle, but you don't know which one to choose. If you do a quick YouTube or Google search, you'll find that there are endless side hustles to do and everyone's claiming that they've got the best one. You'll see a lot of stuff like, this is the best side hustle for young people, or this will make you a millionaire in 2022. It gets really overwhelming when you start to do the research, and maybe you have a lot of different interests. Maybe your friends are all trying different things. You see it everywhere. There's this information overload that's really easy to walk into in today's culture. So today I'm gonna help you sort through that information and find the best side hustle for you to start today. Alright, so I like to start off with the passivity to profitability scale. And the reason it's a scale is because you rarely can get one and the other. I can go out and do something that requires a lot of active work, and generally it's going to be a lot higher in the profitability range. So starting a business is perhaps one of the greatest ways to grow your wealth, but it requires a lot of upfront costs, time, and attention on your part. So it's low in passivity, but can be very high in profitability. On the other end of the spectrum, we have high passivity, but low profitability. So say you go take the money that you already have, you invest it in the stock market into some dividend stocks. All you have to do is set up the brokerage and put the money in there. That's about it. You sit around, you wait for your dividends to come, but it's going to be much lower than what you can generally expect if you go out there and actually put in the work, start a business, etc. Now you also have this gray area on the scale, and this is where a lot of side hustles lie. So for example, you could write a book, it's a huge upfront cost, a lot of time involved, and then later you're sitting completely passive watching the dollars roll in. And so where does it fit on the scale? Well, it actually changes throughout the process, and that's something that we're gonna get into later that you definitely should consider. So when I have this conversation with people, I say, well, your side hustle really should depend on your situation and your needs. Do you desire high profitability? Do you have a lot of time to invest in that kind of side hustle? Or are you sitting on cash? Are you at a time in your life where your time is more valuable and you'd rather go for something that's more passive, even if it has lower gains? And so that will be a huge factor in deciding which side hustle is right for you. The second thing that we look at is your skills, passions, and interests. What can you do very quickly and with ease? What are you naturally gifted at? What do you love to do? Finding some synergy of the three is the best way to find a profitable and exciting, sustainable side hustle, but it's not always that obvious, and we have to dig a little deeper. Another thing to consider is, what will people pay me for? We're looking for high dollar value side hustles that require less of your time. So we're looking for side hustles that we can do quickly and we can do well. To gather inspiration, you might go to YouTube or go to websites like Fiverr, find side hustles that people are doing, and see how you can put your own personal twist on it. What makes this decision a lot easier, at least for me, is that I don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? I can go out there, I can see what other people are doing well, what they're doing not so well, but what's working, and then I can put my own personal twist on it, do it a little better than them, and I've got myself a killer side hustle. When starting a side hustle, you also have to consider risk tolerance. How much risk can I really take? And also just understanding what risks are associated with different side hustles. You have your professional risks, you have your social risks, you have your personal risks, financial risks, time risks, physical well-being risks. The list really goes on, and there's a lot to consider. Now, I'm not one to suggest that you avoid, taking risks, you avoid taking actions because there are risks, but you need to know what risks are actually present, how to mitigate them, and that definitely helps you choose which side hustle to go with based on your preferences. So for example, one time I tried to start a power washing side hustle, and the problem was there was actually a lot of risk involved. If you don't know anything about power washing, you are power washing people's driveways, the sides of their houses, so you're dealing with tall ladders, incidents, potential property damage. People can easily sue you for the work you've done. So you have to mitigate a lot of that risk through a boatload of insurance and safety procedures and having the best equipment. And the list kept going on, and I soon realized that it wasn't the side hustle that I wanted to start. There are other side hustles that are considered risk-free, but you have to be aware that there's always, and I mean always, a risk. Nothing is guaranteed, especially when it comes to your finances. So how much risk can you tolerate? Risk in itself isn't a showstopper. However, you need to be aware of it and you need to know how much you can tolerate. If you're looking for simple side hustles that are low risk to start, I would look into side hustles such as index investing, flipping free items on Craigslist, basically anything that doesn't take a lot of time or money to start with. I also have videos out there about starting side hustles with zero money down, and you should definitely go check that out. Next to consider is the startup costs associated with the side hustle you are considering. I'm talking about the money that you have to put down, you have to invest in order to get it up and running to a point where it's profitable and sustainable. So if you're starting a business, you may have legal fees, you may need to start an LLC, maybe you want an office or a place to rent, maybe you need business cards. Perhaps you have a website, you have to buy a domain, you want to start an ad campaign, you want to send out postcards. If you're doing a manual service, you may have to buy the equipment and you have to pay employees and you have to pay for marketing and advertising. Depending on the side hustle, that can range from nothing at all to tens of thousands of dollars to start a real profitable business. If you're at a younger stage in life, you might not have a lot of liquid cash that's available to you, in which case you'll want to consider something that's maybe on the free side or within a few $100s, because anything over that seems overwhelming and out of reach for you, and I totally understand. If you're okay with a few startup costs in your side hustle, great, but make sure that you're aware of all the costs associated with getting your business going. If you overlook some of these costs, you may be looking back later down the road saying, where did things go wrong? I lost a lot of money. Okay, competition. It's what makes our economy go round. It's the reason why America is so successful, because we make each other improve by competing. But if you have other people competing against you, it really does make it a lot harder to enter the marketplace and perform to your best ability and get the clients that you need. If it were me, I would start with something that is low to medium competition, but is medium to high profitability. For example, couch flipping or starting a very niche blog. But if you're okay with some friendly competition and you have a way to put your own personal twist on something or do it better, then I would absolutely recommend going out and giving it a try. There's plenty of successful people who went into a crowded niche and came out on the other end. That's just another risk that you're gonna have to be aware of, and it may take longer and more startup costs to get to where you wanna be. Now, we wouldn't be very good entrepreneurs if we didn't consider the long-term outlook of the side hustle that we're choosing. I'm talking about impact. Whether you believe it or not, this side hustle is going to impact every area of your life, not just financially, but personally, professionally, socially, emotionally, mentally, the list goes on. What I'm saying is choose a side hustle that's gonna fit your lifestyle. And understand that short-term profits mean nothing in the wake of sustainability and long-term success. I used to do this awesome side hustle where I would go donate plasma twice a week, which was the maximum they allowed. I would sit there pumping my arm, doing whatever I wanted, reading a book, doing homework, so it was almost entirely passive to me. I did that every week for months on end, a little over a year I think. And eventually I started vomiting every single week like clockwork. And I eventually came to the conclusion that it was from those plasma donations. But when I looked further into the future at how it would impact my health, impact my living, my lifestyle, I realized that the money didn't matter. It didn't line up with what my needs were. And so I quit. And so looking into the future and seeing the long-term impact of that side hustle on the different areas of your life is the best way to determine if that side hustle is right for you. So if you're starting a business, will there be future costs associated with growing it? How quickly can you expand it? Will you face struggles? Will you have mindset issues? If you're not looking for another full-time job, don't sign up for one. If you want it to be automated, make sure it's scalable. The point is to play it out, consider the long-term consequences, both positive and negative, of your side hustle. Make sure it's something sustainable, something that you're going to want to keep up with, that you won't lose your passion over. So before you make that investment, whether it's your time or your money, make sure you ask yourself these questions now and save yourself the heartache. Now, before you get carried away with your research and your thinking and your analyzing, I want you to stop. I want you to pick one and commit to it. I completely understand that there's a lot of information, a lot of things to consider, and that you don't want to just go all willy-nilly picking a side hustle and hoping that it works out. However, if you don't commit to one, you'll end up just wasting time, jumping from thing to thing and never actually seeing any progress. I've toyed with so many side hustles, jumped from thing to thing to thing, and it would have been so much better if I just stuck to one thing, really grew it, put my attention and my time into it, and saw where it could actually lead. So once you have asked yourself these questions, you wrote down your answers, and you've considered side hustles that actually fit your criteria, here's what I want you to do. I want you to give it 90 days. That's 3 months. Plenty of time for you to see if that side hustle is right for you. In that amount of time, you'll experience some setbacks, but you'll also see what kind of profits you can expect, how much work and risk is associated with it. And at the end of the 90 days, if you decide that it's not right for you, then make a pivot and go to something else. But the key here is not to bounce around and to actually give something your full attention for the full 90 days. It's also essentially crucial that you get an accountability partner, whether that's your spouse, your friend, your mom, I don't really care, but get somebody or a group of people who are gonna actually hold you accountable for pursuing this. So you can post to social media every day, letting people know what you're doing and what you're learning. I started this YouTube so that I could share my insights and keep myself accountable with my goals. Or you could join a mastermind where other like-minded people will share their insights, their struggles, and keep you accountable too. Okay, so that's my framework for helping you choose the best side hustle for your specific situation. Like I said before, I can't tell you what's the right one for you, but you can. So if you want to be smart about choosing your side hustle, you'll ask yourself, do I want passive or do I want profitable? Is there somewhere in between? What are my skills, passions, and interests, and can I find a way to synergize them? How much risk am I willing to tolerate? What are the startup costs associated with my side hustle? How's the competition? Is there space for me in this niche, or am I going to have to pivot? What's the long-term outlook? What is the future impact if I go this route? And then finally, you pick a side hustle, you stick to it for that full 90 days, and you get accountability. So, what's it going to be? Put it down in the chat, let others around you know, that accountability piece we talked about, what you are going to stick to for the next 90 days. I want you to take it very seriously. And when you're done, you are going to have crushed it, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to be super motivated that you stuck to it and that you're making some serious cash, learning how to grow a business, and getting out there and taking action. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like down below. It really helps out my channel, and it's free. Make sure and be back here every Friday. Hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss a single video. I'm putting out content about side hustles and personal finance, and you don't want to miss it. As always, go out there, optimize your wealth, maximize your life, and I'll see you guys next week.